Hey guys, Tina here and welcome to my weekly reads and BookTubeAthon wrap-up combined video, sort of. I just decided to do this because I haven't been reading a lot lately and it just seemed like a smarter way to do this. So yeah, with the new job I'm always so tired. I just have to get used to the schedule and all that. And there's less time to read, and when I do, I tend to fall asleep a lot. So yeah, that's been happening. So reading, wasn't really my priority. And I was also watching Westworld. I sort of binge watched that, and it's fantastic. I love it, and I cannot wait for the next season to come up. Really, I do suggest, if you like weird and, fantastical things, it is good. But yeah, let's get to the books that I read in the, last couple of weeks. The first one was Humanity's Hope by Pembroke Sinclair. I was contacted by the author's publicist and they offered me the book in exchange for an honest review. And I already filmed a review and posted it, so you can go watch it up there. Anyways, this is a zombie book about this 17-year-old boy called Caleb. He survived the zombie uprising, during which time he lost his family as well as a lot of his friends, but he did make it through, and now he's suffering from PTSD and just sort of trying to reestablish his life, make it normal and all that, and things are not really working in that direction because things are happening again and he has to go on a run again and just figure things out. It was an okay book. It definitely has potential. I thought, with a bit more editing it would be great. But all in all, it was interesting, and it did have some really interesting premises. So yeah, do go check the review out. The next book that I picked up is a gay romance novel called Tied to You by Riley Hart, and it's a story of Miles, who is an attorney, and he takes life pretty seriously. He doesn't want any distractions, which a relationship in his opinion would be, so he avoids those. And then one night he meets Quinn, who is a game developer, and he is slightly more, boyish in his behavior. Not that he's, not mature and all that, but he's more lighthearted and all that, and they sort of click. And what they're supposed to have is a one-night stand, but things happen and a relationship starts developing. And of course, some past issues come up and sort of, make it slightly harder for them to be together. But all in all, it was a really cute a romance novel, and I did enjoy it. But then I moved on to BookTubeAthon because that was happening, and I had these great plans of reading 7 books. Is what I've planned. Of course, it was unrealistic because I wasn't really, that focused on reading that time, so I only managed to finish 2 books, and I already switched one of those up because it wasn't on my TBR, but it arrived, and I decided I'm gonna pick it up because it did fit one of BookTubeAthon's challenges. And the first book that I finished during that week was Eliza and Her Monsters by Francesca Zappia, and I decided to use this one for reading a hybrid book. Which is this is, oh god, I can't even speak. Anyways, this is about Eliza. She created this webcomic that got really popular, and she has this great fandom base. And with all, as is with all fandoms, there are positives and negatives with it, and she sort of navigates that sphere. She's anonymous, so people do not actually know who the author is. Of course, they're curious, as they are. But yeah, so she goes to school. She's not really happy there. She cannot wait to finish high school. But one day she meets this new guy there called Wallace, and it turns out that they have a lot in common because he's a fan of her comic and he actually writes fan fiction, and they connect over that. She doesn't tell him the truth though, who she is. She doesn't tell him at the beginning, and as you postpone telling the truth, it's harder and harder. But eventually things get a bit more complicated, and she has to deal with consequences of everything. Now, I gave this book 3 stars on Goodreads, and I talked with Lourdes about why on Twitter. The thing is, the book was okay. I didn't, it was cute and fun and fast to read, but I was so annoyed by the relationship between Eliza and her parents that I just couldn't give it a higher rating. I am so tired of parents and their kids not getting along in YA books. It is possible. It is possible, it's not the standard. And it's always just a miscommunication or actually not communicating as well. And yes, the parents here should have tried harder, but so should she. Honestly, so should she. If you don't tell him things on purpose, it's partly your fault that they do not understand what is happening in your life. And yes, they might, not understand just in general what, means to have a successful webcomic, and they might think it's just a hobby, but that is, again, you're partly your fault for not even trying to explain it to them. So I was really annoyed by that. Also, Wallace was sort of a prick at the end, which I didn't, he sort of has certain expectations and demands which I didn't think were fair, because it wasn't his right to demand anything like that. Anyway, so that did bother me, slightly, yes. I think the fandom part was done really well. I've never been a part of a fandom like that. I'm just not the type of person to really do that. But I think, yes, you have fans and you have trolls and you have everything, and that's just part of internet. So yeah, all in all, it was an enjoyable read, but those were the issues that I had with it. And then the second book that I managed to finish during BookTubeAthon was Curtisies and Conspiracies by Gail Carriger. This is book 2 in her Finishing School series, and last year during BookTubeAthon I read book 1, and I decided it's high time that I sort of finish this series, so I picked the second book up, and it was really enjoyable. This is the story of Sophronia, and she's this, in the first book she's I think around 15, and she's a tomboy, and she's really into all this steampunk stuff, she's into gadgets and machinery and all that, and her mother is just fed up with that, and she decides to send her to this finishing school, so she would turn out to be a lady at the end. And of course she doesn't know that this finishing school is actually a school that prepares girls to be spies and murderers and assassins and all that, and Sophronia just flourishes there, surprisingly, and it's a really light-hearted, humorous, young adult book. It's set in the sort of 1800s England. There's steampunk, as I said. It's, the world is slightly different. There's ether in the air, and there are these big ships called dirigibles, sort of like balloons, but I don't know how to explain them exactly. And it's a lot of fun. There's vampires, werewolves, and I think that's basically all the creatures that we encounter so far. But yeah, it's a lot of fun, and I really enjoy this book so much. I had a lot of fun reading it. So that's what I managed to read in the last, couple of weeks, I think. But I'm in the process of reading 2 more books. So the first book that I'm reading is a buddy read with Michael and Lourdes, and I will leave their channels down below so you can go check them out. And it's Soul of the World by David Mealing. We have been reading his book for, I don't know, a couple of weeks now, and I'm not sure how they're doing, but I'm taking it really slow. I just cannot read it fast. I only can manage a couple of chapters a day, and that's it. And I will have to sort of push myself to read more, because I sort of want to finish it by this week, although I'm not sure if it's happening, but definitely in the middle of next week. I'm sort of like a third through. It's a fantasy world, and for me it's slightly confusing, this story. I'm not, there are things that I definitely miss. It's probably just me, because I'm really tired a lot, as I mentioned a couple of times now, and I just sort of don't focus as much as I should. But this is a world in which things are brewing, there's this huge city, and we meet a girl living there called Serene, and she's an artist, and she paints and earns her money that way, and she observes, the aristocracy, how they're living, and of course she lives in a poorer part of the town, and there's a lot of discord between the two parts, of course, and things, as I said, are brewing, and I think they're soon gonna explode. But anyways, she is using magic, because there's a couple of magic systems in this book, and I'm not sure how either of them works actually, but she uses the ley line magic, and you can use different sort of ley lines to do different things. It's how I'm imagining things, and she's one of the characters. We also meet Arik Jur, and he's this tribal guardian. He lives in his tribe, and they have shamans, and he's the guardian, and he uses a soul spirit magic or something like that, and it's different than the ley line magic. And he is dealing with other things, because the spirits seem to be messing with them a bit. They're not as helpful as they used to be, giving them guidance and all that, and things are changing in his world again. And the last character that we meet is Eris, and she's in the army. She's pretty high up, and she's a great strategist and a great user of magic. She's called a full binder because she does use ley line magic, and the more types of ley line magic that you can use, if you use like 3 types, then you're called a full binder, and she's one of those. And she's great at her job. She's also, you know, as her army is exploring, they're trying to conquer new lands, because with new lands come different new ley lines and new types of magic, and that's what they're after. I sort of imagine, like, you know, the west going to the east for oil, and the magic sort of works the same way in this one. You know, it's under the king's rule, and if you want to use it, you have to basically pledge your allegiance to the king, and sort of then you're allowed to do it. And they're seeking new lands to get more and more magic, something like that. Anyways, it's a pretty confusing book, as I said. Yeah. But I think it's starting to pick up, and I do want to, as I said, push through it and just see what all the fuss is about, because it has good reviews, and I want to see whether or not I agree or not. And the last book that I hope to get to this week is book 3 in the finishing school, and it's called Waistcoats and Weaponry, and I want to see what Safrania gets up to next. And I think these are always a fun, easy read, so hopefully I will get to this one, but we shall see. Anyways, those are my plans for next week. Hopefully I will do well and read the 2 books that I want to get to. Of course, I might get distracted by TV shows or other books, who knows, or just, you know, life in general. But yeah, let me know down in the comments how you're doing with your reading, and thank you for watching this video, and see you in my next one. Bye!